Hello. Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. Next up, we have a session called Round in Circles and the Unexpected Players in Resolving Fashion's Final Frontier. It's going to revolve around the new ways of bringing the fashion world into a circular economy. And I'd like to introduce Mary Fellows, who will be moderating the session.
Thank you, Angus. Thank you all so much for coming. It is a really important topic to tackle this, and with that, I'd like to welcome on stage my panelists as well. Please come up and join me here. Thank you.
Do you mind which order?
Anywhere. Thank you. Good. Can everyone hear? Yes, we're all good. Thank you, Extreme Hangout, and thank you to the UN for having us. It's nearly at the end of COP, and what a great way to finish. I picked this topic about the circular fashion ecosystem and fashion because, as most people in this audience may or may not be aware, I'd hope that the fashion industry is still deemed to be one of the great polluters, approximately the third most polluting sector, anecdotally people say, but nonetheless, it is way off track. It is on track to double its emissions by 2030, and it is currently only recycling about 1 to 2% of its waste, whereas up to 85% could be. If you just think about that, only 1% when 85% could be. And the thing about sustainability is it's a long-term journey to clean up supply chains and still do a just transition where those that we've got working for us in the global south, making garments, dyeing, finishing, doing the textiles, weaving, ginning, transporting, all of that, you can't take employment away from. So it's a long transition to clean up those far reaches of supply chains in tiers 3 and 4, and where all the emissions happen in scopes 3 and 4 as well. But what we can do is bring down fashion's footprint by up to about 30% by tackling what happens in the consumer use phase, which is once it's in the hands of the consumer. And not only does that bring down the footprint, but it also then starts to mirror Mother Nature's own perfect system of never wasting anything. Everything in nature goes around in circles, doesn't it? I always say that if you look at the water systems, a lake evaporates, that water becomes cloud vapor, becomes rain somewhere else, goes back into a lake or a river, back into the seas, and there you go. So the fashion industry has a huge opportunity as well as a moral imperative to do that. And with that, I would like to introduce my panelists. Could you all tell me who you are, what you do, and also what was your call to action to being in a purpose-driven space?
So hi, my name's Susi Smither. I'm founder of British jewellery brand The Rock Hound, and I have a foundation of responsible sourcing. And do you know what? It all started back from a school assembly in the 90s when I learnt about fair trade. And that idea of the world's not fair, is it? You know, we're so lucky and blessed with where we are in our lives, and not everyone has that. And so as soon as I heard that, I wanted to become a conscious consumer. So then fast forward to the Rock Hound, and I've landed myself in a really unsustainable industry, you know, with extracting precious metals and gemstones from the earth. And so I wanted to embed the responsible sourcing into that. And so that's how I started.
Thank you very much, Emma.
Hi, my name is Emma Barber, and I'm the managing director of a company called DGrade. We are UAE based, and my background is really the fashion industry. I was in buying and merchandising for about 25 years, working pretty much in the UK, high street, and then also here in the region for about 10 years. So my husband, who started the business, was in conventional manufacturing. But when we came to Dubai, we saw just how much pollution there was. And Chris really understood about textiles and how much polyester is being made in the world. And when you make polyester sustainably by recycling plastic, you really conserve resources. So you use less water, less energy, fewer carbon emissions, and you don't use any oil, which is a finite resource. So we really wanted to do something that was making a difference. And there's a huge consumption of water and water bottles here. And whilst we don't advocate to use more plastic, what is being used needs to be recycled. So we have a recycling plant in Abu Dhabi, and we recycle PET into polyester. We made all the uniforms for COP, so everybody wearing COP uniforms. Woo! It's made from, and the Extreme Hangout guys are also wearing loud and proud. So yeah, that's DGrade.
Thank you, Coco.
Hi, everyone. First of all, thank you so much, Mary, for having us all here. It's a very exciting time. My name is Coco, and I'm the founder and CEO of Cercle. We are a luxury fashion rental and resale platform based in the UK. And what we do is we bring the luxury experience to the space to make circular consumption as exciting as buying new.
Thank you, Tanya.
Hi, guys. Thanks so much, Mary, and you guys for coming here and listening to us. My name is Tanya, and I'm a co-founder, managing director of the company called Cicon. So it's a technology which connects garments to post-consumer services around its entire life cycle. So think about care product recommendations, dry cleaners, repairers, resellers, renters, charities, and recyclers. So the entire life cycle support of your garments. And the call to action was actually about 6 years ago. I spent about 15 years of my career in sustainable energy sector. And at some point I've realized that it was a success story of the world moving to sustainable future. Decarbonization was already at scale. It was a big boys game, but fashion was about 15 years behind energy when it comes to supply chain, government support, consumer awareness, you name it. So that was a call to action to do something about it. And data, post-consumer, is now lacking in any brand, any supply chain, but it's coming up in the Scope 3 emissions. So thank you so much.
Hello, everybody. My name is Manuel Jackson. Or Manny Jackson also. I am the founder and design director for a brand called Haus based in Los Angeles. Thank you so much, Mary, for having me here and all you beautiful panelists. What we do, we focus on creating circularity by pioneering a global ecosystem around sustainable fashion solutions. And what that basically means is we look at our main 5 pillars of educating, creativity, innovation, sustainability, and bringing our communities together by hosting events, upcycling clothing, focusing on donating, supporting charity initiatives, and creating a whole entire circularity around, like I say, from bottom to top. And then also integrating innovation and technology in our actual clothing, which we'll hopefully show you a little later. One of the main things that was the call to action for me, I've worked in the mental health space for over almost 2 decades, and also I worked in simultaneously fashion as well. And what I saw was there was a lot of waste generated in fashion that allowed me to work with a lot of different brands, allowed me to work with a lot of different charities, and I wanted to support that, and we started an organization called Hope Healing, where we wardrobe makeover for kids with chronic illnesses. Well, during the pandemic, we had a lot of stuff that was donated, but we couldn't use it. So I decided to take those clothes and upcycle it and start making hats. And that just really helped cultivate our whole entire sustainable journey. And then that just allowed me to work and partner with more organizations to help spread our mission. Thank you.
Manny, thank you so much. So as everyone here can witness, the way to solve circularity in fashion is so complicated and takes so many different approaches and different solutions. And what I'm so proud of is that we've got such a wonderful cross spectrum here, from jewellery to polyester to secondhand to technology and the consumer use phase and upcycling. So this is not a bad summary of how to tackle the problem. If we go back to the problem itself, for anyone in the audience who didn't know this, there are now mountains of dead, used waste fashion that are visible from space. One of them is in the Atacama Desert. Currently, the fashion industry disposes of about 92 million tons of textiles a year that could be used most likely in other places. That would cover the equivalent of 7 or 8 times the size of Dubai or Belgium. It would weigh the same amount as 184 of the Burj Khalifa, which you may have seen whilst you're here. So with that in mind, given that we have this insane amount of waste on our hands, enough to possibly clothe 5 or 6 generations of people without ever making a new garment, how do you guys, less so Susie, because we're going to talk about jewellery as well, but Manny, for you and also Coco, I think specifically, I'd love to know how you're tackling that problem exactly, the waste problem.
So, first of all, we're tackling by educating people about the waste problem. I think we have to allow people to understand that there is that. And then, like I said, our program, we created a program um, in Los Angeles, California, that's allowing people to be educated around sustainable solutions. And then we take in donations, we partner up with other brands, and we use those clothes to upcycle or recycle or regenerate more functional garments.
And like you're wearing them today, right?
Yeah, just like one I'm wearing today.
Fantastic, thank you. Coco, tell me about how your solution helps solve this problem.
Of course. So I think first to reinforce what you just mentioned, if we look at the lack of utilization and lack of recycling in the industry, we're looking at a lost value of $500 billion a year.
Billion.
Billions.
500 billion of lost value.
Yes,
Ellen MacArthur.
exactly.
Yeah.
So it seems like it's pretty timely to actually move from a take, make, waste economy into a much more circular one. Now, what we've been really focusing on at Circle is how do we make that really exciting to the consumer? And we do that really through what we call our 3 C's. So number 1 is all about curation, looking at our inventory through a curated eye, and really focusing on pieces that tells a story, trying to tell our community that it's actually almost cooler to wear vintage clothes or rented pieces than actually buying new. The second C is all about convenience. I think we live in a world today where the consumer wants the experience to be effortless. So how do we bring that experience to your door? How do we bring it live through our own showroom? That level of personalization has proved to be very successful for us. I'd say on the convenience level, we've even partnered with a hotel chain now, One Hotel. When you book your hotel room, you also book your holiday wardrobe. By the time you land in London and you're checking out One Hotel Mayfair, your London wardrobe is waiting for you.
So no emissions as well. Less emissions from not taking a suitcase in the hold. Right?
Exactly.
Good.
And the third C is community, because ultimately change comes through community. And if we can all come together to make that change, that's where we really get to scalability.
Okay, that's fantastic. Thank you. And I think touching on the waste problem as well, you've got this idea that it's innovative to take waste, and it's an imperative to take it, and there's a value in it, as Coco mentioned. But how do you guys, and this is more a question for Susi than Emma, I'd like to hear this as well, how do you turn the idea that some customers might be slightly put off by the fact they're wearing waste, if they know that waste has become the raw material? Do they want to think of the way that fashion is all about fantasy and aspiration, and does it detract and demystify their experience when they know that there's waste in what they're wearing? And how do you tackle that? Susi, do you want to?
Yeah, so circularity in the jewelry industry is actually not a new thing. We continually recycle metals. We don't even waste the little filings of gold. We collect them all up. And it's a fungible material, so you can refine it infinite number of times. So when I came across this new source of recycled metals, which is silver salvaged from NHS medical x-rays, actually in the UK, the NHS is very beloved to us, especially after the pandemic. So it's quite an easy sell to people are investing almost in the NHS as well, because the NHS get paid for the silver that's salvaged from the x-rays. So it stops it going to landfill, it stops the plastic going to landfill, because now the silver's been stripped and then the PET can be recycled. So yeah, it's a beautiful story.
It's incredible. And Emma, tell us how do you engage the consumer around that?
So it's sort of 2 answers to your question from my side, because what we do at DGrade is not unique in that we repurpose polyester and make new clothes out of it. But what we do that is unique is we're B2B. So obviously there's companies that have a uniform requirement, and we don't want to put new product into the world. We don't want to generate loads of new stuff. But where companies do have to wear uniforms, what we want them to do is just switch their procurement option to a sustainable option. As I mentioned in my introduction, we can do it in a much greener way. But we do get pushback on, but can we wear plastic, and is it very bad for us? And our answer to that is that recycled polyester performs identically to conventional polyester. So we can provide a high performance, high quality product that's not going to be a single use plastic item and be thrown away like some promotional polyester merchandise is. You know, our quality is high, and so we get around this whole thing about, oh, but it's a waste material, by the proof is in the pudding, by showing them that the companies we work with, the blue chip companies around the world, who, you know, stand by the product and it wears well.
Good, okay. And we touched on storytelling, so I'd love to come on to Tanya on this one, because there is a role to play, isn't there, where if you can engage the consumer in the story of what they're doing, and they can then have a story to tell their community, does that play a part in what you do?
Yeah, absolutely.
And how does technology help that as well?
Yeah, absolutely. You're spot on about the story. And consumers today really want to do good. They really do. I mean, does anybody here not care about buying sustainable clothes?
Yeah.
Usually it's raise hands, right?
too
But I know
scared
that
to
it's going to
say
be
yes.
yes on everybody's part. Sorry.
They're too scared.
Yeah. What Cicon does is really simplifying the way for you to maintain your wardrobe. Instead of you going and Googling, what's the best care solution for my organic cotton jeans so they don't decolor? You know, oh, I heard this microplastic thing. Is there a laundry detergent that is helping me not to shred too much? Nobody's asking these questions, and nobody really should. But what we do is we're really, through an algorithm, we're helping consumer to see the right care product for that specific garment that they register in Cicon app. So based on materials, is it polyester, is it wool, is it silk? On price, is it Roxanda dress, which is in its thousands, or is it an H&M t-shirt for $5? So you get your market there, and location as well. Are you in Australia, or in the UK, or in Dubai? And what's interesting that what comes after, and a lot of the times with the take-back schemes, for example, the story there is really missing a lot from both brands and those collection points where you just dump your bag of stuff, right? Has anybody recycled clothes that way, where you just put stuff in the bin?
Yeah.
Yeah? A few hands? Does it mean you guys don't recycle clothes? What? Anyway. But what's happening there? People don't know where it goes, right? People just put it there and hope for the best. But as Mary alluded, it all ends up in the global south, in the places like Chile, Ghana, all washed up to the beaches, and it's horrible. But then when you actually look at your garments or your wardrobe and actually have a choice of, do you want to land it to somebody else to wear and make some money off this? Do you want to resell it? We can tell you the resale value. Do you want to maybe donate it to the cause you care about and support environment or Heart Foundation animals? Or does it not have any wear and resale value anymore? Then we would ask you to put it in the recycling. And the recyclers we work with are not sending stuff to the global south. They actually send it to the recycling facilities based on the garment's materials. Wool recyclers is one thing, you know, polyester recyclers, leather recyclers for shoes, etc. So it's a storytelling through you managing you're being empowered, and you know the impact of what you're doing in your app. You know the environmental footprint of what you're doing and how much you're saving to the environment. Speaking your own language, like how many miles driven in the diesel car, right? Or how many glasses of water is saved of a human consumption. Not the complicated numbers with the, you know, who even knows what, 2 kilograms of CO2 emissions is equivalent to? Nobody knows. We need to speak with the, but actually, it's good 20 miles driven in a car. So, it's quite...
So those stories become shareable and become your own, what I'd call PSR as opposed to CSR, your own personal social. It's like we can all have our own mini kind of in-house CSR department, right? Why not? I think another question for all of you though around this is, what you're all doing is going above and beyond what the luxury and fashion and jewelry industry currently does, which is take, make, waste, as Coco mentioned. Now, to do things better and to do them right and to take waste, which then needs breaking down, either chemically or mechanically recycling, or having other components and chemicals and other processes attached, that's expensive. So someone's got to pay that price, and your products, all of you, or services, will end up costing the customer more. So what would you say to customers watching here, who could be target audiences or customers for you? This is why it's worth paying the price, apart from your own reduced impact on the natural world. What else have you come across that? And Susie, why don't you?
So I actually try and absorb some of that extra cost myself.
Okay.
So if I'm selling through stockists, I don't want it to be inflated down the light markup. So I'm trying to shoulder that myself. But I think to be able to have, especially with jewellery, it's such a personal choice. If it's, say, a wedding band or something like that, I work in fair trade gold as well. You don't want this story of like child labour in the mines, or that someone's died from mercury poisoning. So people do actually care a lot about their jewellery choices, and they should be passed down through the generations. So people who come to the Rock Hound have already made that conscious decision to buy, knowing the background, and so it's part of the story.
Okay, so they'll pay a premium for that.
Definitely.
That's good to hear. That's good to hear. Emma and you, let's say, how much is your material compared to conventional polyester, virgin polyester?
We do tend to be higher because we have a fragmented supply chain. The conventional polyester manufacturers have this very sort of easy vertical supply chain, whereas we're collecting the plastic, we're recycling it, we're turning it into textiles. So that does raise the cost. So our issue really, quite often, the CEO of a company, be it a Unilever or a very small company, they're often very invested in this, and they want the story. They want to be able to tell their consumers and their shareholders that they're making their uniforms in a sustainable manner, and that's great. But then when it gets to procurement, they say no. No. We're not paying $1 more.
Bottom line.
We're not paying $1 more for this T-shirt that we've been buying for years. So we have to really try and engage multiple departments. So we get the CEO buy-in or the C-suite buy-in, but then we have to really talk to the marketing team, the in-house sustainability team, so that they can really understand the story and discuss that with the procurement team, who say no. And that is really important. And there are consumers, as you've all mentioned, who are looking for companies. We're working with Rove, actually, who are part of the Extreme team, and they are a fantastically green hotel, and they buy their uniforms from us, and they can tell their customers that they're using plastic, they're recycling it, and they're making their uniforms. They're doing a circular economy. And that's a really important story for shareholders and for customers who are looking for these companies that are doing something green. It's not greenwashing. We can provide an impact report to say, for every 100 T-shirts that you make for your staff, you're saving this much CO2. To your point, we have to show what that looks like. But this much water, this much energy, this much oil. And that is important, again, for not just necessarily the customer coming, but the shareholders who are saying, oh, but you're spending more. Why are you spending more? And you need to be able to say, but this is our impact report, and this is the difference we're making to the planet. And that's really how we try and get around that.
Thank you very much. And Manny, what about you? I mean, I don't know exactly what your items cost, but how do you convince a customer to spend that bit more?
Well, first of all, we have a program. It's called R3, Recycle, Repurpose, Reprogram. And also, we're empowering our community. We want to be able to support our community with fair living wages. We want to be able to embrace that, and also with all the different brands and distributors and other organizations that we partner with. So telling the story behind our clothing, like our clothing has functionality behind it. We're recycling, we're empowering our community. We have technology involved in it. These are all the different ways that we like to show our price points, and it's displayed in the garments. And so part of telling that story is showing you the person that's making it, that's sitting there at the sewing machine, the mom, the pops, showing their family, showing our actual community, the people that's putting the blood, sweat, and tears behind it. The processes that we go through sometimes when we're partnering with companies to do natural dyeing processes. The processes that we go through when we're cutting our actual fabrics. And I may show you a little later that all of our hats have, they're sustainably made. And then kind of like what she was saying, now our new thing is embedding that into a QR code, so now that can actually be traced and monitored. So these are all the ways that we embrace what our price points is. And we want people to understand, when you buy a piece from Thread House, you're actually supporting the sustainable movement because we say you'll eliminate 3 to 5 pieces out of your wardrobe. So when you have a suit that's, you know, sustainably made, it's also able to reverse and also convert into a bag. You have to eliminate how many pieces that going to be going out of your wardrobe. And this is how we like to explain our clothing. But you can see that.
It reminds me of what you're saying is a little bit like, you know, in the old days when you used to buy antiques, you'd get the provenance of an antique, like who owned it, where would it, if it was a piece of art, where it had been exhibited, etc., etc. And I think what we're seeing with technology and is certainly a white paper I authored, which was about the use of technology and driving sustainability, is the future is, when you think about clothing, it's something you do every day, why is it that today, most of the time, all you can do is look at a label, which is printed in like 10 languages in the tiniest text, and expect a customer to understand what, like 85% rayon and this much viscose, it seems so backward. But what you guys are doing, and I know Tanya enables this as well, is embedding technologies such as QR or RFID, radio frequency, or NFC chips, which are the things that allow us to use our phone to pay for things or tap in the subway. You're using that to show the circularity, is that right? And to help the brand take co-custodianship with their consumer, so then you're all involved in the circular journey, is that right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, I'd love to hear, Manny, how does that help the customer that you've deployed that? Because I know Tanya can speak to that, 'cause she does that in the back end, but let's hear what your customer feels about engaging with technology to get, is that a portal into the world of that piece of clothing?
Well, first of all, it's an educational opportunity because a lot of customers do not understand it quite yet. And we are learning ourselves. And I think the most important thing is to let people understand how technology is catching up to us. So the way that people feel, they like the fact that they can actually verify their clothing, but also they're a little, you know, people are a little bit hesitant about it as well. So by them understanding a little bit more about hearing other, I guess you can say, like blueprint around what technology and what's out there, they're getting more abreast to it and more appropriated with it. But what I really love to do is educate people and show them the use cases of it. And when they actually get a chance to see the benefit behind it, they're like, oh, and guess what? You already got this technology in your phone. You're already using this in your homes. These are things that you already are using. Now we're just implementing it in another way to actually put it into your clothing.
It's so empowering. Tanya, do you want to tell us how that works in your company? Because I know you take a lot of data, but then you find a way to help the customer disseminate and understand that. Tell us about how that works for you. And it's the future. I think what you guys are doing is the future, that interplay of technology and driving circularity. Tell us about that.
Yeah, we love data. We thrive on data. But what I loved about Manny's project is how he humanizes it. And I wanted to give you a hug when you actually were talking about the mom and pop's engagement. And it was so, so great. And this is the future. Like, brands do not really know yet a huge amount of opportunity, how that QR code can be used. You know, for them, it's a cost. It's a whip that is coming on the legislation. It's that stick, and they're thinking about the cost of non-compliance and what they're going to do. And really, for us, and I know I'm a hopeless optimist, but for us, it's nothing but an opportunity to engage with the consumer and to make their jobs easier, their life easier. You know, instead of reading through the War and Peace text of that label that you just mentioned, actually just, you know, scanning the code, understand what this garment's all about. And instead of her going on the, you know, Google stuff about it and what those care labels even mean, and then, okay, so it's wool, okay, so, you know, just get rid of that thinking. Get rid of that thinking. And AI is being great, and we are, you know, implementing a couple of AI elements in that where, you know, the job of a consumer would be just eliminated entirely. You just, through that QR code, you're able to do anything that is locally available, but filtered for sustainability. And for example, if you are using dry cleaner, so for a lot of the people, what is dry cleaning? It's boring. I'm just going to my guy next door. But then very few people know that the guy next door uses percoline. And
that's a toxic.
It's extremely toxic. This is stuff that destroys your jackets, makes them stinky, and 4 dry cleans and you can get rid of your jacket, and that's what usually happens. Our dry cleaners are filtered. We do not work with those who are using percolaine solutions. We specifically sign agreements with companies that are either silicone or anything else.
Yeah.
So it's that sort of, consumer doesn't even need to understand that, but they need to emotionally connect with it.
Right,
and this
right.
is our next challenge. So we have all the data. We algorithmically connect that garment, that consumer, do all the magic, do all the whispering and the cooking so that you get the best experience with the best providers. But our next challenge is really how to humanize that. How to connect the mom and pops, and that is, I feel, would be the next thing in this technology space.
Building on that, I wanted to come to Coco next, because I know that you're starting to work out how you can deploy that kind of technology and innovation to help understand consumers to understand how.
Well, first we used RFID tag on all of the garments.
Well, and what does that mean for those who
So
don't?
an RFID tag is not a new technology, something that's been around for a very long time, but it's a new technology used in fashion. It's essentially a little chip. It's like that big. It's like half a finger, literally. We put it in a label. What does that do from a logistics standpoint? How we centralize our logistics is exactly where your garment is, how many usage it's been through. It's very interesting from a data collection standpoint, but now we're also using it to store stories. And I think what is super interesting about stories is, look, we're all human beings, we're all emotional beings. We get attached to things, we put emotions, we're driven often by our emotions. And it's the same thing for clothes. And I think when you look at clothes, there are 2 types of equities. One, there's the emotional equity, which is very interesting to leverage to change consumer behavior, because from that piece of clothes has been worn 5 times, it's not new. You can actually say, well, yes, it has been worn 5 times, but it has also gone onto a journey. I'm wearing a suit.
Yes, tell us about this. Yeah.
But it's my suit that I put on Cirque platform. It literally has been worn by an influencer to go to an award. It's been worn by Rachel Arthur to give her keynote at the UN. It's been worn by a man at Ascot for the Ascot campaign.
Yeah.
So it has been worn by so many people, men and women. I absolutely love that fact. And now it's on stage at COP.
So if it's basically like if these garments could speak, right? And they can't, but they can still tell you their story through technology.
Exactly.
And that becomes a reason to engage with them.
Yeah.
Definitely, and I think drives us to the second type of equity, which is the financial equity, right? Coming back to what you were saying earlier about, should we pay more for sustainable garments? For us, it's a bit different because we're a service. But I think sometime when you look at the economy of rental, it's easy to say, well, so let's take an example. If the dress Tanya is wearing is about £1,000, if you were to rent it for 4 days, it's £100. It's a fraction of the retail price. It's absolutely worth it. It's easy calculation if you're actually going to wear the piece less than 10 times. Because if you look at the cost per wear, then above 10 times you might actually invest in the piece, and especially if it's second hand, the chances are you're only going to pay 600 out of the 1,000. So I think it's just looking at fashion like an asset. We own a lot of things. We look at jewellery and watches, high commodities, same thing with cars and boats, but why don't we actually look at our closet through an asset manager lens? When you start renting and reselling, you can make money through your clothes, you invest differently, and you can also then afford investing in brands that might be a little bit more expensive, but that is also reflecting on the quality.
Brilliant. It's so interesting hearing like what it's actually like in reality, how these things actually play out. And I think we're going to kind of coming close-ish to the end. And what I'd love to hear from all of you is, because most of you, I think, are here wearing things that are directly associated with your business. So I'd love to hear from each of you the step-by-step. So the item that you've got, what was its journey? Where did it come from? Who made it? What happened? Where are the entry points where circularity and these brilliant innovations have taken place, so that anyone who's watching will be then inspired to just maybe save a bit more, wait a bit, and then invest that little bit more in something that has this magic built into it. Susie, do you want to start?
Yeah,
with that?
so this is my Hot Rocks collection, which is made all starts life as an X-ray, like an old X-ray from the NHS, or veterinary X-rays as well, with some forward-thinking action from refiners called Betts Metals in the UK. They are able to extract the silver, and we actually have a video at the end of the whole process. And so then they refine it, and then I use the lost wax casting process to take the form of a natural crystal and then form it in solid silver, and then I use a nano ceramic coating, which is just pop of colour on top. And this is actually through Le Maison Couture, which is all about ethical jewellery brands, is actually being sold in Selfridges now in the UK.
Wow.
Yeah, so you're taking one industry's waste and creating something beautiful.
Fantastic. Well, we might finish with your video, maybe one other little surprise we've got, but remind me. Emma, tell us about the whole journey of what you're
It's
wearing.
the long journey. So to your point, Manny, education is really key. And we do a lot of outreach with schools and businesses, and we try and encourage people to learn about sustainability and not just recycling, but that's really important. And we work with many, many schools, and we encourage the children to bring plastic in from home, but also at the schools. There is no actual garment industry here in the UAE, and we are also not allowed to commercially dye here because of the way the water treatment works. So what we do is we work with a factory, a local factory in Pakistan, who run our Simply Bottles program with their schools. They employ 11,000 people. They have they're the biggest employer of women in South Punjab, and they pay completely equal wages, and they also have 4 schools which the children of the women working there go to. So we really try and make sure that we're collecting that plastic post-consumer, and they convert. They can then use the flake and make the fibre.
So the plastic goes then into chips, or
exactly.
becomes like little bits of cereal almost, right?
Like little flakes, and then the flake is extruded.
Right.
And once it's extruded, it looks like a very fluffy. It's like filler, like you'd get in maybe a pillow or something. Once you have the fibre, it can then be spun into our green spun yarn, which is a trademark yarn. And the reason we trademarked it was because we want to stand for high quality. So if you're looking for a high quality stretchy fabric, you might ask for Lycra. And if you're looking for a trademarked high quality performance garment, you might look for something like, my mind is Polartec, thank you.
Yeah.
So trademark yarns are important. But anyway, so we make sure that the factory is using the post-consumer. It's spun into recycled polyester. And then what we do is we bring fabric back into the UAE and work with factories here in Ajman, where we can put on the Made in UAE label as well, and make sure that we're giving a boost to the local economy here. And we, as I say, made the COP uniforms, the extreme Hangout uniforms. And,
It's amazing because until you know that, you see that garment you're wearing through a whole new lens. Don't you? It's amazing. And Coco, give us an example of the kind of the journey for your customers. Obviously, you don't make products, but you rent them and you can buy them secondhand from you. So what's the journey like?
So I've talked about this suit, which essentially would be for us coming from a peer, but we are a hybrid model, so we work also with brands. I'm sorry, Tanya, I feel I'm going to steal your story.
Go for it.
So Tanya is wearing a dress from Roxenda, which is one of our brand partner. We work with both individuals and brands, individuals to optimize their inventory, or should I say their closet, actually, and brands to optimize their end-of-line inventories. The way it works, again, the idea is to make it super easy. So we do collection, we do all of the quality control, we even fix if it's a minor repair. We don't touch if it's a big alternation. We work with people like Tanya. And then essentially the garment is ready to be rented. It's right in storage, in our storage room, and goes out when needed.
And then it comes back, and then
exactly, and then it comes back, and it's all over again. Quality control, cleaning, small amount of repair if he needs it, and then it goes back. We really take care of the entire logistic chain.
Brilliant.
Wow.
And Tanya, tell us.
I can add to that story. So this is Roxanda dress, and Roxanda is a British designer who is very, very careful about selecting materials that she's using. She runs life cycle analysis of her garments and traces where the material is coming from. And she's just the type of person who makes her stuff stand out, right? I mean, if nobody notices me here, I'm probably blind, right? It's something that is so Instagrammable as well and sustainable at the same time, and available through Cercle.uk. I'll pass it on.
And Manny, tell us, I want to hear, we heard quite a lot about what goes on, but I want to just kind of take me into your workrooms, take me into the atelier, take me into, what goes on under the bonnet at Thread House.
Well, first of all, it wouldn't none of this be possible without some of the amazing people that I work with back home, and actually being able to take some of the crazy ideas out of my head and bring it back to life. What's really, really exciting and cool is seeing the process of, one of our hats, right? And just seeing the style, the story. This is actually made from upholstery fabric that was all donated, each hand cut, and I like everything to have multifunctionality, so it's reversible. So something simple like this, right? We cut so much stuff that hits the floor of our cut houses or our waste houses.
That's in LA, right?
That's in Los Angeles.
Yeah.
And this is what's so beautiful is when it hits the floor, it's ours. So I go and collect bags and bags and stuff from different people all over the city of waste. And then I turn around and make beautiful hats like this. Now this hat retails for about $125, but you have two hats in one. Another thing that's really cool is, like I said, everything that we do is around functionality. And so one of the things,
Great.
Can I
Can I try a hat?
take my suit off? Hold on. But what's important is it's reversible suit. And everything we do is gender neutral. So a female, male, whoever, if you love it, you can wear it. Another thing that's really cool is the functionality. Oh, okay, thank you. So the functionality of our clothing, right? So as you can see, it's a reversible suit, but it converts into a bag. And we have several different bags, but I'll just show you this one.
Oh, wow. Magic.
It's brilliant.
Bag.
Gift I keep from the giving.
I think we've still got the microphone in.
Look at that.
Whoa.
I think round of applause for this. It's brilliant.
Thank you.
Well done.
So
Thank you so much.
that's sustainability right in front of you. That's circularity. From top to bottom. And this suit was actually made from water damaged material. So we was able to make about 25 of these suits. And I love mine, so I kept mine. It's been through a lot. But this is what it is that we love to do. And like I said, it wouldn't happen without partners with brands that's doing other things that's in the sustainability community that has their hand on the pulse. And there's so many amazing brands that's in Los Angeles that's doing certain things that we get a chance to partner with. And that's why we say we're creating a global ecosystem, because now there are brands all over the world that's doing these amazing things. And it's so amazing to hear how aligned we are. So thank you.
Thank you, Manny. And knowing that you have this technology embedded, I think, Tanya, you might have a surprise for us about showing how that technology works.
Yes.
Anastasia, is she here? So if everyone can give us a second, we're going to show you what the future of getting dressed is going to look like. Now, we can't all, unfortunately, go to the office or the supermarket like this, or perhaps we can and perhaps we should. But we thought it would be nice to have something stand out to show you the, thank you, Anastasia. Do you want to come and show us Tanya, show us how this technology works then, because there's a QR code, is that right?
There is. So this is Patrick McDowell's piece, who is the designer in the United Kingdom. We have partnered with them for London Fashion Week this year in September. And what we've done, we've quantified environmental impact, thank you so much, of every single garment in their collection this season. And
through like a life cycle analysis, looking
life
at
cycle
emissions,
analysis.
the energy, the materials, the labor, all that, right?
Exactly, thank you very much. So Patrick is very good at working only with sustainable materials, whether it's dead stock or tencel, very low carbon, low water intensive material. And this particular, you might not recognize this, but this is actually a holder, an upcycled holder of a ballet dress So they partnered with the Rambert Ballet School, and the holder was made in a dress. Now, that data that we took from the Patrick on all the materials and where they come from and what type of transport has been used to bring them to the UK, etc., and it all went into the QR code. And I'd love to pass it around, but maybe we'll do it after the talk. You can scan it and then see the entire story of this piece, put it into the human perspective. And then if you want to buy a care product or book a dry cleaner for this garment locally, you can do it there on spot as well. And it's pretty much what we've done for the entire collection. And yeah, it's been fantastic. We only hope that more brands will adopt this approach.
And they will. Well, the EU legislation for digital product passports.
Exactly.
So for anyone watching, I invite you all to come back to our workshop area over there afterwards and try scanning Manny's clothes, try scanning this QR code, and see what it's like to be able to take co-custodianship of your fashion and to feel empowered by that data. I think with that, we're probably almost at time.
Should we do the video?
Yes, exactly. I wanted just to close out by saying that what's really interesting about this is circularity is quite a lofty concept, but when you look at it, what it takes is such extraordinary multi-sector collaboration. So whether it's someone who's been at Bloomberg and is a tech expert bringing that to fashion, whether it's Coco with all her experience and bringing technology and building a digital ecosystem of consumers, whether it's Manny taking dead stock materials plus technology, Emma is working with the plastics industry and schools, and last but not least, we've got one that melts my heart so much as well as melts silver is a luxury jewelry brand that's working with the NHS. So with that, I think that we're here to think about the health of our planet and the health of our people. And so I'd like to finish this session with a short video about the process by which Susi's jewelry gets made, and for that to become something that everyone can think about in terms of how we can all collaborate by listening to other people, other sides, other industries, and not actually going against people if we think that they don't speak our language, because actually sometimes the magic is in bringing together two very opposing or different voices and sets of expertise. So with that, could we play the film, please?
The chairs around a bit.
Yeah.
We are really excited to launch Again Silver. Again Silver is silver recycled specifically from medical X-ray film and refined in total segregation from any other material. Hospitals all over the country and the world are storing film well beyond the retention date that they have to keep it, and that costs trusts a great deal of money over time. What we allow them to do is recycle that X-ray film and receive the monetary value of the silver that we recover.
Here at Kidderminster we have a fleet of 3 vans that go all around the country collecting X-ray films from hospitals to vets, where it's brought back to reclaim the silver out of.
Once here, the staff will then process the film by separating the wet film from the dry film in 2 separate bags which go into stillages. Once this has been done, all the paperwork will then get put into a blue bin where it is shredded so all data is totally destroyed.
Once the film's been separated from the paperwork, it goes through the granulators where it's chopped up into small pieces. Once it's been granulated, it goes through the solution called ferric, where it takes the lamination off the film, and it's taken out, rinsed, drained, and into the filter where it's pumped around the electric machine where it's plated to the cathodes. Once the silver is knocked off the cathodes, it's then melted, poured into bars.
Once the silver's been smelted, it goes up to our refinery in Buxton, where it goes through a segregated silver refining process.
Kidderminster produced for us an anode. This is a semi-refined product. We're able to take that anode and use it in our electrolysis bath to extract the fine silver. The process takes place in an electrolytic cell. The cell is designed to extract the fine silver from the contaminated silver anode. A DC current is passed through the anode through an electrolyte solution which contains silver, and the fine silver is plated out onto a cathode. At the end of a 24-hour period, the cathode is scraped off, the fine silver is collected, it's washed again, dried, and then is taken down to the factory where it's granulated.
We can then turn that fine silver into whatever products our customers require, be it grain, sheet, wire, or wedding rings.
As a jeweller that's striving to be as sustainable as possible, and the fact that it's silver refined from medical X-ray film that is now being used in the jewellery that I'm making is so exciting.
With Again Silver, what we're doing is we're recycling a product that was previously going to landfill, and we're giving customers absolute confidence about that material. One of our main focuses is obviously on material provenance and on recycling, and it's about how we can develop those processes and that transparency within the trade to take things further forward.
That's amazing.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, they're very
Well,
forward-thinking, I think. Yeah.
They really are. And if that isn't a case study for how not just fashion but other sectors should be operating, I don't know what is. So with that in mind, could I say a big round of applause and thank you to our panellists for such brilliant contribution and for coming all this way. Thank you very much indeed again. And please do go and see all this stuff in action back in the workshop area. Thank you.
There are some free repairs going on, guys. If you have a button that's fallen off, there's Anna who can repair it for you as well in the hub. Thank you.
Thanks, Mary.
Thank you. Yeah, thanks, Mary.
Yeah.